If you need help deciding whether Against the Storm is the right city builder for you, this video will answer all of your questions. We'll start with a 60-second, too long didn't read overview of the game, so you can tap out early if it doesn't appeal to you. After that, we'll look at the detailed mechanics so you can get a real feel for what it's like to actually play the game while contrasting similar games along the way. Then we'll finish up by answering some practical questions to help you decide whether Against the Storm is worth your time and money today. At its core, Against the Storm is a game of forming production lines and reforming them as you constantly run out of resources and discover new ones while trading to fill any gaps. As a viceroy, your job is to deliver goods back to the citadel before your queen becomes too impatient, while also keeping the resolve of your workers high by providing their various needs, like in Anno 1800, as the hostility of the surrounding forest grows. Once your settlement fulfills enough orders, you can move on to the next one. As you complete settlements, you gain resources which are invested into unlocking a huge tech tree, with each new unlock giving you that slight edge as the game gets progressively more brutal. At the end of each cycle, the storm will destroy all of your settlements, leaving only the central citadel, including your tech tree. But as you venture into the unknown, you can reforge ancient seals in a race against time to prolong the big reset. So if you love resource gathering, forming production chains, constantly thinking on your feet, and setting your own goals for success, Against the Storm might be your cup of tea. Against the Storm is a game of 3 parts. You'll spend most of your time establishing various settlements, but there's also the central citadel in the Smoldering City, and then there's the overworld map, which is where we will begin. Striking out from the Smoldering City, you select your starting resources and workers so you can establish settlements one by one, with each further from the city than the one before, venturing deeper into the unknown. You don't return to these settlements once they are established, though you can trade with them, but mostly they are simply the staging post for your next settlement as you edge towards a greater goal. Different coloured hexes on the main map represent different biomes that offer a variety of positive and negative modifiers when establishing each settlement that impact your gameplay and strategy significantly. Question marks represent mysteries and events, along with other special hexes that mix up the gameplay even further. However, these are all ultimately a variation on the same theme, as you establish your settlements by collecting and processing resources to complete orders. Then each successfully established settlement earns you resources that can be spent on unlocking the million different upgrades at the citadel. At the bottom of the screen is a timeline showing how each settlement established brings you closer to the next Blightstorm cycle, which destroys all of your settlements. But that isn't game over, but you have to start from the citadel at the center once more. So what's the point of all of this? Well, as you establish settlements, you earn seal fragments as a reward, which you can use in the depths of the unknown to reforge ancient seals of varying difficulty to extend the blight cycle, giving you more time before the big reset, so you can venture out even further next time, all while maintaining your unlocked upgrades. As your confidence grows, you can choose increasingly brutal levels of ancient seals, and there are many flexible difficulty levels throughout the game, taking you up to a whopping level 20 prestige for those looking for a punishing city builder experience. For your settlement to succeed, you need enough reputation points to fill the blue bar at the bottom. You can do this in several ways. First, fulfilling orders by producing the relevant goods at the right time. Second, increasing the resolve of your workers by consistently providing them with their favorite goods. And third, by completing challenges that pop up each time you open a new glade, which, you guessed it, requires delivering goods. However, you fail a settlement if the Queen's impatience fills the red bar at the bottom, which fills over time but can be increased or reduced in various ways. The orders that you need to fulfill in order to gain reputation unlock over time. They are random, but you get to choose between 2 options per order, which is important because you can't build any production building you like. You start with some basic buildings, but to unlock those that are more advanced, you need to gain reputation. Then you get a random roll and can choose 1 new building from a choice of 3 or 4 to give you more production chain options. This element of randomness to the goods you need to produce, the buildings you can use to produce them, along with the scarcity of resources, is a fundamental principle of the game. But let's get back to basics. You start each settlement by building woodcutter camps and gathering wood by painting the trees you wish to be chopped down. You build housing and decorations to increase your workers' resolve, construct paths so they can move faster, and your first basic resource gathering buildings based on the resources in your starting glade. Meanwhile, your workers will drop off the resources gathered to a central warehouse, which goes into a global pool. Then later you'll construct mini warehouses as you expand to decrease the travel time for your workers. At the center of your settlement is the hearth, which must remain lit or it's game over, much like in Frostpunk. It is therefore a constant drain on your resources, but on the plus side you can level it up by increasing your population and building decorations, which in turn yields a variety of bonuses for your settlements. There are 3 types of glades for you to open by chopping down trees. Small ones aren't a big challenge, but they don't give you much in the way of resources either. Dangerous glades are bigger and provide way more resources, but you'll also find a timed challenge in each. The longer you leave this challenge, the more negative effects will build up, so you need to assign workers to them and have the relevant resources available to complete them, with a nice tasty reward at the end. Then you have forbidden glades, which are basically dangerous glades on steroids. Fulfilling orders, increasing worker resolve, and completing glade events all require manufactured goods, and herein lies the real gain. You must consider how to turn the resources you currently have access to into the manufactured goods that you require, using the buildings you have unlocked so far. It's also a constantly moving challenge, as your current resources won't last long, and you don't know what you'll find in the next glade. But what ties these production chains together is you can often choose from a variety of different raw materials. For example, a pack of building materials can be produced from either planks, fabric, bricks, or copper, whichever you happen to have available at the time. That might sound like a nightmare, and at times it is. Choosing to unlock the wrong building at the wrong time could spell disaster for that settlement, but you can construct a trading post to purchase products in an attempt to fill gaps in your production chains to fulfill an order. And you can also sell excess goods for profit in the form of amber, which is the currency of the game. Different buildings can often produce the same products. For example, both the kiln and brickyard can create bricks from clay or stone. However, the kiln will consume 4 clay or stone to create 2 bricks, whereas the brickyard will only consume 2. This different level of efficiency is reflected as a star rating next to each product, adding further depth to your building choices. So not only are you looking to unlock new buildings to form new production chains, you are also trying to find efficiencies to stretch the resources you have even further. As you start each settlement, there will be modifiers that will make that particular run easier or more difficult. The modifiers fundamentally affect your choices, as they may result in an abundance of one resource, which will focus your choice of production chains to exploit those resources in that settlement. Another key mechanic is forest hostility, which is increased by chopping down trees, opening new glades, and is basically a counterbalance to expansion. And once you breach a certain level of forest hostility, you gain a negative effect, which basically lowers worker resolve. Low resolve means workers eventually leave, which can death spiral your settlements. Against the Storm is very much a worker allocation game. Your workers produce your goods after all, but they do take breaks and they need food to survive. However, if you can fulfill their needs, your workers' resolve can be a major factor in winning the game. There are several playable species, namely humans, beavers, lizards, harpies, and foxes, each with different traits. Humans are adept at farming, which increases their yields from that job type. And they also enjoy brewing, increasing their resolve when assigned to that role. You can also construct buildings to provide services, which is when you really turbocharge their resolve, but you need to watch out for decadence. Eventually, your workers get used to the luxuries they already have, and their resolve will become harder to maintain as they become more demanding over time. As you play through each settlement, the time is split into a cycle of 3 short seasons: drizzle, storm, and clearance. Drizzle is when positive modifiers become active, sowing of crops takes place, and cornerstones are earned, which are basically a choice between 3 positive effects. Clearance is when farmers harvest crops, and then there's the storm, which is when the negative modifiers take effect, and your workers' resolve lowers massively, a familiar experience to Frostpunk players. Getting through each storm is a key part of success in establishing a settlement, and is a massive drain on resources. Rainpunk technology is where certain production buildings can have pipes installed and you use the water collected by your rain collectors to increase production efficiency, which can be switched on and off at any time. However, the more you boost production, the more blight rot cysts will appear, which can eventually spread throughout your settlement. Cysts do nothing during the clearance and drizzle seasons, but open during the storm to corrupt your hearth, potentially ending your game. But you can build blight posts to create purging fire, which your workers can use to destroy the cysts when they are open during the storm. So increasing your production is great, but there are consequences for doing so that you need to balance. Then finally, if you're attempting to reforge an ancient seal, you establish a settlement as normal, but you need to locate the seal on that map, then deliver a bunch of resources to activate the Guardian, thereby extending the storm cycle. All while various plagues are unleashed upon your workers the longer you take to do it. It's pretty intense. You'll spend the vast majority of your time creating settlements, but you will spend brief moments at the Smoldering City, where there's a huge upgrade tree which can also add buildings as you progress through the tree, which is nice from a visual perspective. There are also deeds, which are basically like achievements, and there's even a home, which has cutscenes with a family member who can give you advice. A bit random, but nice all the same. You don't spend much time here, but gradually unlocking the huge tech tree is where most of the sense of progression lies in this game. Hopefully by now you have an idea of what it's like to actually play the game, so let's address some of the more practical considerations to help you decide whether the game is right for you today. Against the Storm is a complex game, but you are introduced to the multitude of layers slowly, unlocking tutorials as you progress through your first game. Regardless, the initial learning curve is a bit brutal, but I've made a tips and tricks for beginners video that will get you over that. Typically, you can establish one settlement per hour, so if you only have an hour here and there, it will take several playthroughs before you feel the progression of the game, as it takes several settlements for you to make any real progress. If you can play for 2 or 3 hours at a time, you'll get the most out of Against the Storm. However, personally, I play for an hour at a time and enjoyed the experience once it got rolling. Against the Storm is a solitary experience that can't be enjoyed co-op with friends. If the game hooks you, you probably won't need another game for at least a year. Although fully fleshed out already, the game is still being updated with fundamentally game-changing mechanics. So if you like the sound of the gameplay loop I've described, it's unlikely that longevity will be a problem. The base price of the game increased in April 2023 as the game released in full, but there are regular discounts of 35% on Steam, and the game is currently available on Xbox Game Pass for PC, so there's no reason to pay full price for this game. Just wait a few weeks and save yourself some money. Against the Storm breaks the mold of your average city builder. Constantly having to reform production chains will likely not appeal to those who enjoy a good, relaxing, creative mode. It's a game for problem solvers who gain satisfaction from making the most of what they have, and never truly knowing how they're going to finish this current run. There are many similarities with Anno 1800, but the key is whether you enjoy the production chains and fulfilling your workers' needs in Anno 1800, as that will translate well to Against the Storm. But if pretty buildings and wandering the streets is more your thing, you'd be better off looking elsewhere. The survival mechanics and general themes running through the story will appeal to those who enjoy the constant assault on your senses that comes from Frostpunk. Though there isn't much interaction with your population, you just have to produce enough things they like to counterbalance the hostility of the surrounding forest. There's a lack of real story or end game in Against the Storm. You set your own goals for the most part, so your feelings towards that will be a key consideration if you're looking for your next Frostpunk-style city builder. If you are new to city builders, I recommend downloading the free demo of this game on Steam, or if you are already signed up to Xbox Game Pass, just give it a try. The demo will guide you through the basic mechanics to give you a feel for the game, so you'll figure out pretty quickly whether the game is for you or not. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask, or if you already own the game and have some additional information you'd like to add, please let us all know in the comments below. If you found the video useful, please leave a like and comment for the algorithm gods. And if you enjoy this style of review, why not consider subscribing? And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.